Dasha Minina is the CEO and founder of Licensify, BeautyAList, and Maxus Nails nail care line. Licensify is an auto license verification tool, and BeautyAList is a directory where customers can find salons and beauty pros. And of course, the Maxus Nail Care line is a nail care line. Today, we're going to get to hear Dasha's story, how she got to where she is, and what is on the horizon for her, and what does she look working towards next. Welcome back to the Hairdresser Strong Show. My name is Robert Hughes, and I am your host. And today, I'm with Dasha Minina. How you doing today, Dasha?
I'm doing very well. I'm very excited to be here, and I want to thank you for having me on.
Absolutely. Thanks for coming. So just to give people some context, I met Dasha through LinkedIn, and you shot me a message, and I looked at your stuff, and I saw the software tool to look up licenses, and I'm like, oh, that's interesting. First of all, um, I always wondered how people verify licenses, and so I'm so curious to know more about that. And the customer facing directory to find beauty pros. I'm sure a number of people listening or watching would be interested to know more about that. And you have a nail care line. So I guess first of all, which one did you do first?
The first was the nail care line.
Okay.
That is how I entered the industry. I did not come from beauty. Long story short, I was supposed to take over a business, and it was me and a male, and we were both going to take over with me doing the sales and marketing, and my male colleague would take over production. And it was an environment where I wasn't recognized as an equal. And I ended up leaving and starting my own company to spite them. So that is how Maxus was born. And because I didn't know anything, I wanted to learn everything from inside out. So I went to school and I got a nail license because I wanted to understand what it was like for the professional, to really make sure that the products were ergonomic and I knew what formulations to do and all that. And when I was in nail school, I realized what a hot mess the industry was. And I realized that as a consumer, I never got a proper pedicure. And I never had a proper licensed worker working on me. And I didn't even know there was such a thing as licensing. Zero clue. And I was really offended that the industry failed me because I assumed I'm going into a professional establishment that is being monitored and whoever's working on me knows what they're doing. And it was when in the school that I realized all of the potential side effects that could happen from going to dirty nail salons, which I was going to because I didn't know any better. And that's when I had this big idea of creating a directory where I, as a consumer, would be able to find somebody that's licensed. And it started with nails because that's all that I knew. And as I started expanding it, I started speaking to more people, and they said, "Why are you not offering this to more people? Why are you not offering this to other professions?" So then we expanded it to estheticians, we expanded it to cosmetologists. And for years, that's all that it was, is me sort of working on this directory. It used to be called BeautyAList, which I realized, first of all, was a word that was a no-go in the industry. I don't know if you agree with that or not. A beautician is very, when I would say this word, people would like, oh, shudder. Besides the fact nobody knows how to spell it. So that was a no-go. So recently I changed it to Beauty A-List. And then when I started pitching the concept to trade shows, in trade shows to brands, and again, at that point, I was still kind of going after nail brands. I went to Cosmoprof in Vegas, and I went to every single nail booth. And some looked at me and said, it's not going to work, and I'm crazy. And then I got to Orly. I don't know if you know, it's a nail care line. Okay, so Jeff Pink, the founder, um, he directed me to speak to his son, who is the VP of development. And when I was pitching him the idea of having this directory and I'm able to verify licenses, and he looked at me, he goes, "Why are you not offering this to brands? Because right now we are manually verifying licenses, and here you develop this, and I tried to do this myself and I couldn't." So from that meeting we started working together, and that's when I started offering it to brands, and then I split the two up because brands didn't understand beautician list verifications. So then I ended up splitting the two, and Licensify became the software. And that's Licensify is the software that works with the brand, with the manufacturers, distributors, and then BeautyAList became the directory. So that's sort of the how the this came about.
So you went to school. You mentioned that. So you're licensed, and you told me before the show you got licensed in 2014, right?
Hmm.
Yeah. So, and you also were said you were in a business, and you were like, "This isn't working. I'm not seen as an equal. I need to do my own thing."
Yeah,
First question: what was that business? Was it a beauty business?
it was a nail treatment. It was a nail treatment company.
Okay, okay. So
Yes.
you were getting into nails. You just were not getting the nails with that partner.
I was just not getting into nails with, yes, with the
Okay.
partner, yes.
Yeah. And then, so what were you doing before that?
Before that, I was in fashion and sales.
Okay. So you're kind of like in an adjacent industry almost, like,
Yes.
like beauty, fashion kind of go together. All right. So you're in fashion, and you decide you're gonna make a pivot, I guess. Is like, how did this whole, like, just as an entrepreneur, what is that mind space, that headspace that you're like, um, I'm ready to do my own thing? Like, how did that happen? Did it happen by chance or?
I don't think so. I think there are several factors. My father is an entrepreneur. That was the business that I was supposed to be a part of.
Okay.
I'm an immigrant. We migrated here in 93. I feel very blessed and very fortunate that I'm in this country. And I know that this country presents a lot of opportunity. And my parents gave up a lot to come here. And I feel that I owe it to them and owe it to myself to make something here. So there are several things. Besides, I think it's just in my blood with my father being an entrepreneur.
Gotcha. Okay, cool. So you're working in fashion. How did the opportunity come up? Oh,
To
okay, you said it was your dad. Your dad's business.
Yes, yes.
Okay. Okay.
So he had a partner. The partner had a son. Their business was overseas. It was not.
Okay.
It was not in the United States.
Gotcha.
It was overseas, and it was an opportunity for us to bring the business over to the United States.
I see.
So,
Okay.
so while my father had connections overseas, he knew nothing about the business here. So that's why I had to start from scratch.
Gotcha. Okay, cool. All right, now I feel like the whole picture
Yes,
kind of came
yes,
together. Okay. All right, so I got the vibe. You're going into doing your new thing. You decide to go to school to get the license, which I think is such a smart idea. And plus, you also gain love points from the industry pros. I don't know if you know that, but there's a lot of folks that try to break into the industry and they don't take the time to go through the work, and they get love, just not as much love. Anyway, so that said, so you got your license. You build up the nail line first. Can you? Sorry, I think the chronological order of things is kind of out of order, out of place for me. And I'm also wondering, were you working on multiple things at once? It sounds
yes,
like the answer is yes, but like, can you
yes.
tell us a little bit about that? And also, can you include some of like your time management strategies? Maybe talk about some of the stress of handling so many projects at once.
Yeah. I got into the industry with Maxus, and Maxus will always be my baby. But once I got the license, once I got
Got
this
it.
big idea, I realized this was much bigger than Maxus will ever be.
Got it.
I saw that there was such a need. I fell in love with the industry. I fell in love with the professional. And I saw, especially for nail techs, um, how how they're not treated as well as they should be by the consumers, and how it's always penny pinching, and how you always want to get the cheapest service. And attending school made me realize how much goes into education, how much goes into products. And I got such a level of respect for them. And through all the years of working on this, seeing how the industry is, and seeing, especially now with the shift of the influencers, and with the shift of social media, and with the shift of what's going on, I feel responsible that I need to do something to help. I think the industry is severely behind technologically. I think that the big players that own the industry have too much red tape. And by the time they come up with something, it's already old technology. And everything that they're doing is really to promote their own businesses. I think it's very segmented, and it's time to bring everybody together. So for the directory, it doesn't matter what booking software you use, you're able to be part of the directory. It's those things that I look at as a professional and think, how do I unite? How do I provide value? How do I become the encyclopedia of where the professionals go, but that really gives back? So we offer free licensing, free monitoring of licensing. So if you come on board with us and you create a profile, we monitor when your license expiration is, and we send you reminders, because I know so many professionals unfortunately let the licenses lapse because they're too busy, and then you end up paying extra fees. So it's just little things like that, that I think is just so important to really to provide back. Sorry, I will always go on a tangent because I just
It's all good.
it's just I don't know. I fell in love, and I feel that something needs to be done because there's nothing out there. And everyone's kind of trying to do their own thing, and everyone's struggling. I see all these professionals in on these social media pages, and I see a lot of good people that are really good at their jobs, and they're really good at doing hair, but now you have to be really good at doing pictures. Now you have to be really good at doing social, and I just don't think that's fair. I think your craft is your craft. You went to school not for social media. You went to school to cut hair or to do nails. So everything that I do is around promoting the professional and bringing it back. So for the directory, you don't have to keep uploading photos. You're going to be found based on your location and based on your specialty. Yes, you can upload a couple of photos, but that's not the goal. The goal is for when Dasha is sitting at home and she's trying to find a licensed professional or a salon, she's able to do that by saying, I want somebody that does pixie haircuts, or I want somebody that does 3D nails. And then you're going to come up because that's your specialty, and then they're going to be able to book with you no matter what booking system you're using, because again, that's the fragment that's happening in the industry. Everybody is fighting against each other because
Right.
everybody's worried about keeping their own business and not sharing. And I think that's the issue. That's why there's so many deregulation uh, that's happening, right? Because you have these politicians that are going in and they don't know any better. It's mostly men that are going in and saying, remove the licensing. It's okay. It doesn't matter. You don't need it.
It's
But
so funny. I was literally, I was like, had that in my head. I was going to ask you what your take is on deregulation. 'Cause like they're like slight cutting in Virginia, cut their hours to 1,000. A bunch of states, I think, have cut their hours. Do you have an opinion on that?
um, I think it's never black or white. I think that the state boards don't have enough budgets. I think that they're struggling. I think that the consumer doesn't know any better. I think that there are a lot of factors there, and I think that those that are coming up with these deregulation efforts are mostly men that are not getting the beauty services. And if they would find out what happens in these barber shops, they would be horrified and they probably wouldn't propose these cuts. That's really my blunt answer. But it in some cases, yes, there is that barrier to entry, and not everyone has that money because obviously it's a lot of money to attend. So
I think that's one of the big arguments is barriers to entry
I do
for
understand that.
lower income individuals. And then like there's school is so expensive and they're going into
Yes.
debt like they're going to university and and there's also the other piece that I've heard is that the licensing doesn't create a doesn't do the only thing the licensing actually does is or is supposed to do is ensure that you can provide safe services but not quality services.
Mm,
It's like a minimum bar, but like at some point when the licensing process and everything started, they they wanted quality. So like a lot of the tests and the curriculum were built for you to have to do things that hairdressers were doing. And now we don't do that stuff and it's still on the test. And some states have updated their tests, but usually it's more updating it for to add something in, which just creates a heavier burden on the schools and then creates more time and more money potentially. And then there's this big problem with the schools saying they can't add basic business and financial literacy and education, which is arguably more important than how to do a perm. And so, like, what are we talking about here? Is my question. My answer to that question, if you were to ask me, is a question. Like,
yes.
what are you trying to accomplish with the license? Because if it's quality, then we should just get rid of licensing altogether. If it's safety, we should have licensing, but it should really only be about safety. So like what is the conversation? Anyway, this is going to take me down a rabbit hole because something that we do at Hairdresser Strong is we focus on the education that you need and don't get in public school or cosmetology school. And so I think it's a hot topic, and you're right. Like there are a lot of people that just don't know anything. Like the amount of times that the Brazilian blowout came out of a politician's mouth that has no hair, and probably never even been in a hair salon. Anyway, okay, so that let's get back on track. I like to take these left turns and go down rabbit holes. So uh, so so one thing I'd like to know, it sounds like a lot of work that you
It
did to
is a lot
make
of
this. I
work.
mean, how do you make a tool, software that pulls and verifies licensing? Did you have to like tap into APIs or databases, or do you just scraping stuff off of like publicly pages? I mean, you don't have to tell us exactly if it's proprietary, but can you tell us a little bit about like what this process of seeing a problem and trying to tackle it, what that experience was like, and any sort of tips for anybody sees a big problem that they want to tackle?
Yeah. Surround yourself with people that are smarter than you.
That's good.
That would be my answer. In I've gotten to where I am because of few instrumental people that have helped me along the way that knew much more than I did. My best friend that helped me get the patents. My attorney that was also an entrepreneur in tech that was with me from the beginning that helped us figure out how we're going to do this. So we have a direct feed in all the databases. Then we have backup data that we upload on regular basis because at this point I can't have the system not working. It took years. It really took years, a lot of rewriting. It's still to the point where we're constantly looking over and seeing how we can better the system. Because unfortunately, or fortunately, with technology, when it comes to verification of a license, it has to be direct input. So exactly the way that the license was issued, and your last and first name is exactly the name that we verify. Um, Unfortunately, many professionals do not pay attention and do not enter the correct numbers. So whether it's maiden name, whether it's the dashes, whether it's certain letters, so we're constantly looking back and seeing what is causing failures for a specific state. Is there something we could do? So then we add another layer on it. So if we know that a specific state is getting a lot of failures because the professionals are not entering the first three letters, then we're going to skip those three letters and then verify based on the name and everything else. So it's just a constant going back and seeing how can we improve. So it's never ending. Many
That's-
years, many heartbreak, many tears when it
Yeah, can you tell us about some challenges and tears and failure and what it was like and how you got through it? Because that's like a real important thing, I think, for anybody listening or watching is like we're all, if you haven't experienced a hard time yet and you're in business, then buckle
impossible.
up. Like you will definitely experience something, some downside to business. Can you tell any story you feel comfortable sharing and like how you handled it, any sort of advice?
Um, I can tell you that my first my first failure came with Maxus when I was really worried about starting the business. And it took me a really long time to place my order with the manufacturer, with the filler, and I I pulled the plug and I did it, and the entire PO was damaged. So we're talking about 50,000 units of everything that I had was completely damaged. And the filler blamed the manufacturer blamed the filler, and no one took responsibility. And that was literally my first first order and my first. That was really difficult. That was really difficult. I think I cried a lot. And but it's one of those things. What are you gonna do? What are you gonna do? It already happened. Are you really just gonna give up? No, you gotta keep going. But from that experience, that allowed me to say, okay, how do you learn? So after that, I started becoming um more serious with my POs, making sure to write in there that if something is wrong, they're responsible, and being more proactive. But I think the biggest thing for an entrepreneur when you have an idea and you want to be successful is there's no such thought of it not happening. I don't ever have a thought that I'm not going to succeed. So whatever happens, I think, okay, so how do I pivot? Okay, so what am I going to do now? So there's never even an option of it not happening. It's kind of a crazy. You have to be delusional.
Yeah, I was
I
gonna
think
say like blissfully maybe
you have
delusional.
to be delusional. You absolutely have to be delusional, and things will happen. I've had people shake my hand and say yes, and then 4 months, and then after 4 months of ignoring me, saying we're not moving forward with this. I've had people flat out tell me this is a crazy idea, it's never going to work. I've had people be on the phone with me for 40 minutes and say, no, I don't think so. It's not, we're not for us. After I poured my heart and soul. I mean, or or people saying they're going to do something. That's the biggest thing. People always love to say they're going to do something and then they don't. Um, and it's just understanding that it's never personal, and that business is never personal, and you always have to find a way to make it beneficial for them. And I know that whatever I'm doing is beneficial for the entire industry. So if something doesn't work, then I just think, okay, how do I change it? Or what do I do? Like for example, I'm always coming up with new benefits that we could provide. So the next thing that I want to work on is a digital content section. So for example, podcasters or anyone else that has content, They are, again, in a sea of other podcasters with everyone else. And I have a dedicated space for just beauty that doesn't exist. So I want to provide space for all those professionals to be able to go in and watch content and watch podcasts like Hairdresser Strong, where they're able to see it and then you're able to bring in brands if you want to. And you have these dedicated professionals that are already on the site because they're getting a benefit that they're able to get professional products with their login. So everything that I do has some sort of a benefit back to the user or the person that I'm working with. Sometimes the people don't see the benefit. So that's the key is I have to change things around.
Totally. Totally. So, thinking about the value proposition, creating win-win scenarios, accepting the fact that people are going to say they're going to do something and then they won't do it. And I didn't hear you verbatim say it, but I interpret from what you said, don't let that no or yes that turns into a no or a yes and a ghost, whatever, be the end of that relationship
Yeah.
because you never know, like maybe later down the line, once they see other people adopting it, game theory might kick in. They might be like, oh, well, I need to use that too. Um, okay, cool. This has been so good. So, I mean, I feel like I have so many questions because you have multiple things that you're doing, and I feel like each one probably has its own set of stories and lessons that we could learn.
Yeah.
But I think this has been really good so far. So I guess like a question. I feel like we understand the Licensify, the hair, the nail care line, but maybe like the beauty A list. So I think for the build out stuff, we've talked about development side of things. I'm sure there's unique stories to that, but something that we didn't really talk about is go to market strategies. Like how, what's like, say there's an entrepreneur that's listening that has already has a product or something they built, but they're like struggling with how they're going to launch it, or they've launched it and like no one, they feel like they're not getting the response. Can you talk a little bit about like when you think of this beauty A list, how you think about it, how you think about rolling it out, and any sort of advice that you have for anybody who would like to kind of get a little more attention on what they're selling.
I'm consumer centric with everything that I do. Every single decision, when it comes to both consumers and professionals, because that's who I serve. So I come towards the innovation wearing two hats. Is consumer, what do I want to see as a consumer? As a consumer, I don't want to search through Instagram. I don't want to search through Facebook groups to try to find somebody that's good. I don't want to go to people's basements. I don't know that yet. I don't know that yet that I don't want to go to people's basements because a lot of women unfortunately don't know that. And my goal is to teach them that they shouldn't be going to people's kitchen sinks and doing their hair there because you have no idea what's going on. So that is what I go through my process as a consumer. As a professional, I think I don't want to spend my time trying to post pictures and trying to get new clients through social media and sitting on there for hours after I'm tired as hell of being in the chair for all day, the entire day. And now I have to edit photos and now I have to post them and I have to do all of this. So how do I find clients based on my professionalism and based on my certifications? So one of the things that we are doing is I want to bring up the professionalism of the industry. And what does that mean? That means that a lot of hairdressers, a lot of nail techs, a lot of estheticians are getting certifications. Those certifications are not seen by anyone.
Right.
You're getting them, you're spending the money, but do the consumers know how much experience you have? No, they don't. They're not going to see any of that. My goal is to bring it to the forefront. So just like you, when you go to find a doctor and, you look at their education, you look at where they've worked, all of that. My goal is to put a spotlight on those professionals and salons that are constantly working on their craft. So if you have certifications, for me to verify those certifications, first of all, you can't just say you have them, for me to verify the certifications, and then for consumers to be able to look through and say, oh, wow, this person had all these years, or this person did this person did that. So just to bring more visibility to what the professionals are doing and making those certifications work for you. Because if all you're doing is showing that certification behind your chair, it's already too late. They already found you, the client. You want them to be able to find you based on that. So those are just some of the little things that I'm constantly thinking of. How do I help those that are working on their craft?
So I have this is kind of like leading me. I had a thought and then it left me and then it came
Oh
back
no.
during this during your answering the question because it's relevant to the question about like go to market is like a lot of people say and I think there's consensus around this but I can't be positive but a lot of people say that we are in the attention economy and how people are so inundated with stimulus that stimulants from like short form video and instant shopping, like, oh, it can arrive today, and everything's about convenience and attention. So when you're trying to like get somebody's attention, you're competing with social media, and I don't know that screen time usage has come down materially. So it seems like we have to. However, I have a caveat to this. But so let me finish this piece. Like, how do you get through the noise of? And this applies to a startup that's got a cool tech idea for the industry, a product line, or a hairdresser who just wants to get clients. And so, like, when you're thinking about getting attention, getting through the noise, I'd be curious to know, like, what tactics, maybe you have some real deployable tactics that you could share, so people walk away feeling like they just learned something. And also, and if you don't, then it's kind of like whatever you do, I'm curious to know. But I will say I read an article today, and I know we're coming up on our time, so I'm aware of this. So I feel like this is maybe the last point, and then we'll wrap it up. But I read an article today. Let me see if I can find it. I sent it out to somebody. Anyway, it was fortune.com
Hmm.
and it was about oh no. Where did I put it? I don't know who I sent it to actually. Shoot. But they were oh, I know who I sent it to. Oops.
I like your tattoo.
Oh, thanks. Thanks. Commitment to the craft.
That is commitment. Yeah.
Okay. Pretty Little Marketer on Insta had a cool post. Pretty Little Marketer. There she is. Okay. All right. So she just had this really dope post. It said, "The year the internet started to crack. We're done being sold to, optimized, and algorithmed. Trust in algorithms hits a low. Audience got tired of endless scrolling, and real conversations moved somewhere else entirely. This year, we're opting out. We define that offline is the new luxury. I've been saying that for over a year now. We're not leaving, we're recalibrating our internet experience. We're curating boring feeds, muting recommendations, and now stepping away from platforms entirely. I don't know. I'm gonna have to see this to believe it. We're exploring new platforms like Substack,
Yep.
and that's Rare Beauty, XCX. I don't even know what these are. And but basically new platforms. Um, And speaking of personal, real connection is moving to private spaces like Discord servers and WhatsApp groups and broadcast channels, smaller communities where the algorithms can't reach us. We demand to see human authenticity. We're now trusting smaller voices. Sephora launched a 1,000 creator storefronts with a threshold of just 3,000 followers. I mean, shoot,
Mm.
we could be an influencer and getting paid by Sephora. New platforms, smaller voices, human over AI, moving to private spaces. So anyway, it goes on, and there's a couple more slides, but I'm not gonna say anymore because I imagine your wheels are turning. But like, how are you getting attention? And do you agree, disagree, or what kind of vibe do you get from that information I just shared? And how would you use that if you would use it to apply to your business?
I mean, that speaks to everything that I believe. Um, True luxury is time. And when you are selling a product, you are selling yourself and you're selling a feeling. And the feeling that I'm selling to the professionals is get your time back. It's really the same thing to the consumers, where you're spending hours of scrolling, and I am annoyed by scrolling. I don't want to keep scrolling to
Me
find
neither.
somebody. It's just annoying. I just want to go, just show me what I'm looking for. And right now, this doesn't exist. So BeautyAList is a combination of LinkedIn, Instagram, and Yelp. So you're able to find somebody by location, you're able to find their professionalism, and you're able to find some photos of their work. That's it. So speaking of trust and authenticity, you know that all of the professionals and salons that were there were vetted and verified. And speaking of the younger generation, they value more authenticity, they value more of feeling and that really the ability to find someone that's reputable. I think that's really what the younger generation is going for, where they like experts or knowing where to go and find professionals. And this gives them that opportunity in a very simple way where there is no scroll, there is no no one is speaking at them, but they're able to go in and they're able to easily find someone.
So what would be one I mean, so like I said, I have to see this stuff to believe it. Like I like this stuff because this is who we are. Like we are the DMV local like community of beauty pros and hairpreneurs. My primarily hairpreneurs. Like we don't really work with a lot of other beauty pros other than barbers and hairdressers. But like maybe we can maybe expand over time. But like for now, that's our vibe. And we have over 1,000 hairdressers following us in the DMV, and we primarily focus on the local market while still having these big conversations. So I want all this to be true because that means that like people might like the brands might like cough up some money, and like that would be huge for our ability to offer services and products to the local industry. But I've also heard from people in the corporate offices that there are people that are on the ground. There are people that are like they're different levels of people, and some people who have to make the decision, they don't get out much. I mean, this is just what I'm hearing. They don't get out much, so they don't know that this is trending. So like this is the current trend in marketing is to go more micro. And so they're like, "Whoa, well, how many followers do they have or how many views are we going to get or whatever." And it's like everything is based on a metric. And so like we're still not able to get through to the brands that want to capitalize off of micro groups, smaller groups. So anyway, like with that all said, like I hear this and I like it, but like I don't see people walking away from the big platforms, and I still see the screen time is high. Maybe we're in transition, but like my that's my thought. Like I don't I'm going along with this because this is our vibe anyway. Like it's not like I'm just hoping that we're lucky enough for this to be on trend, you know? But anyway, do you have any response to that?
I think so. I think that we're in a transition.
Okay.
Um, Everything's changing. Um, Maybe for us, we are the last generation. How about you? The last generation that grew up without technology. And then we got technology, but we're
Yeah.
able to remember life without it.
Yeah.
And the kids and the younger generation, they're feeling more and more disconnect with one another. They feel lonely and they're not talking to one another. Technology is becoming a problem, and I see that there's going to be a shift where the true luxury time and the true luxury is being off the technology because you become a slave to it.
Totally.
It owns you. It owns you.
Yes.
And with beauty, it beauty is about feeling good about yourself. Beauty is about, I say that the professionals, they are a doctor because they truly touch you the most, more than some doctors do. Uh,
Yeah.
they touch your hair, your nails, whatever. But they're also your therapist because you hear, my hair girl, they know everything. Nails, forget it. You sit there and you know all the tea on everyone. And being able to find someone and being able to not having to deal with technology in order to get to that chair, in order to find that professional, is what I'm selling, really, is giving that time to yourself to be able to do whatever it is you want to do instead of being on social.
Awesome. So I guess the question of like, what are you doing to capture people's attention? Are you using social media?
I'm going to be on social.
Hey, I mean, people are on social looking for a reprieve from social, so
Unfortunately, that's the way. That's the only way. Everybody's on social. Don't hate the player, hate the game.
totally.
I hate all of it, but it's the only way. Um, it's the only way to get seen. And then I'm hopeful that through my authenticity and through everything that I'm doing, at the heart of it is truly to help the professional, really. And then obviously the consumers and then the industry in general.
The
But
thing,
I'm hoping that that's going to come through where I'm also providing a service. So it's not that I'm just saying, "Hey guys, I developed this thing, come join me. I developed this thing and this is what you get." It is always the rationale behind it.
so I think that the B2C space is like tough. Like I think the B2B stuff, I think that hairdressers are going to hear you and they're going to understand what you're saying. And I think the question is going to be like, how do we get through to customers? Like that seems to be the tough part, unless you get like Jennifer Aniston or Beyonce or somebody to like,
Nobody's gonna listen to them anymore. I could tell you what.
yeah, please.
As a woman, I I don't ever think about the possibility of being hurt from a service because it's not sexy news. It's not talked about, but it happens a lot. And every once in a while, it does make the news, and when it does make the news, it makes national news. But then again, nobody watches the news, so it doesn't matter. But um, it's about sounding the alarm that, hey, by the way, you're going to get your nails done. Um, do you know that, like, implements need to be disinfected? Do you know that you're going to do something? By the way, this is what's going to happen.
Right.
Um,
So educate this
it's
consumer.
it's really about educating them
Yeah.
in that way. Not even about the how great your haircut is, although yes, do you want to walk out? with crying, looking horrible, or feeling bad about yourself because you went to somebody that doesn't know what they're doing? Do you want to get your hair burnt off? There's a lot of things that could happen. That's number one. And number two, we are tired of spending hours. And you can ask any woman, in order to find somebody that you want to go to, it's hours. It's hours of searching and asking and looking at the pictures, and then you don't know, and pictures could be altered and you don't know. And again, you don't know where you're going, you don't know what you're doing. This makes it incredibly easy, and a couple of clicks, you're able to find somebody, and then you're good to go. So those are the two main points that I'm going to go after, is the really the time and then the safety.
Nice. Awesome. Awesome. Well, like I said, I feel like I could ask you more questions, and I would love to dive into, different conversations. I was just thinking of another conversation question, but we are at our time. And so I just want to say thank you for coming on and sharing your founder story. We love hearing the founder story, especially like I personally love tech stuff. I grew up in the time of where, Facebook and the app craze was everything. So I definitely am a tech person. This has been enjoyable, but it's also been awesome to hear some insight that any other entrepreneur that's watching can use and know that hey, failure is part of the game. Don't burn any bridges. Figure out how you're going to pivot. We've heard some pretty solid advice and another unique story. So, what would you, just to sign off, would you tell us where can people find you if they're interested in the stuff you were talking about?
Mhm.
And sign off with one like last piece of advice to another entrepreneur in the industry and or last thoughts.
Yeah. Licensify is licensify.io. That is the software that is used by manufacturers or anyone that has to verify the status of a license. BeautyAList.com is the directory. It's absolutely free for any professional. We also onboard those that do not need a license to practice, like makeup artists or lash technicians, but everyone that onboards has to verify their professionalism. So you do have to provide some credentials. The nail care line is maxusbeauty.com. And for my last words, if it was easy, everyone would do it. That's really what it is. That's what I tell myself every single day, um, because it's true. And anytime that I feel um, not adequate speaking to others that are perhaps in high positions, I look at them and I look at myself and I say, what have they done and what have I done? And I'm an entrepreneur where many people are not, because it is extremely difficult. And it is much easier to get a job in a corporation and have the wheels of the machine carry you
Totally.
versus building the machine.
100%.
And I am building the machine. And that gives me confidence in at times where I might feel that I am not at their level. Uh, but that is what I tell myself. And then my shoulders go up high, and then I'm able to carry on the conversation. So that would be my advice.
Love it. I love it. Awesome. This has been a pleasure. I enjoy talking to you, and I feel like I think we should have more conversations in the future if you're open to it.
I would love it.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, until next time, I will see you later.
Awesome.